Have you ever wondered why your mind can remember one insult for 10 years, but forget 100 compliments in a single day? Why one failure can make you question your entire future, while 10 victories somehow never feel enough? The most dangerous prison is not built with iron bars. It is built with invisible thoughts that repeat until you mistake them for the truth. The day you realize your mind was programmed, not born this way, is the day you stop being a prisoner and start becoming its architect. From the moment you entered this world, your mind began collecting evidence about who you were. Every criticism, every rejection, every moment you were made to feel small became another brick in a wall you never agreed to build. As a child, you accepted every opinion because you had no reason to question it. When someone repeatedly told you that you were not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, or not capable enough, those words slowly stopped sounding like someone else's voice. They became your own. Years passed, but the programming remained. Now every new challenge awakens the same old script. Before you even try, a voice whispers that you will fail. Before someone rejects you, your mind has already imagined the disappointment. Before success arrives, you have already convinced yourself you do not deserve it. You think you are simply being realistic, but in reality, you are looking at life through a lens built from old wounds rather than present facts. The greatest deception is believing that because a thought appears in your mind, it must be true. Thoughts are not facts. They are often echoes. They are memories disguised as predictions. They are yesterday attempting to control tomorrow. Look closely at people who constantly expect the worst. They rarely notice opportunities because their attention is trained to search for danger. Their mind has become like a guard standing at the gate, suspicious of everything, trusting nothing, constantly scanning for proof that life is against them. Eventually, the world begins to look exactly as they expect. Not because reality changed, but because perception did. This is how negative thinking survives. It repeats itself until repetition feels like evidence. But here is a truth most people never discover. Your brain does not care whether a thought makes you stronger or weaker. It only strengthens what you repeat. Every repeated belief becomes a familiar path. Walk that path long enough, and your mind begins to choose it automatically. What once required effort eventually becomes instinct. This means something extraordinary. If repetition built your negative thinking, repetition can also dismantle it. The patterns controlling your life were learned, which means they can be unlearned. The fear you call your personality may simply be an old habit. The self-doubt you defend as realism may simply be years of unconscious practice. You are not fighting your identity. You are confronting your conditioning. Real transformation begins the moment you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "Who taught my mind to think this way?" That single question shifts your focus from blame to awareness. It reminds you that your past may explain your thinking, but it does not have to define your future. The strongest minds are not those that never experience darkness. They are the ones that refuse to let old programming become their permanent identity. And once you understand that your mind was programmed, you are finally ready to rewrite it. Now that you understand your mind was programmed, another question becomes impossible to ignore. If negative thinking was learned, what keeps it alive? The answer is simpler and more unsettling than most people realize. It survives because you keep feeding it your attention. Your mind is constantly watching what you choose to focus on. It does not always distinguish between what helps you and what harms you. It simply notices repetition. Whatever repeatedly captures your attention is labeled as important, and what is important becomes easier to find again. This is why one fearful thought rarely remains alone. The moment you entertain it, your mind begins searching for more evidence to support it. Imagine waking up and immediately remembering every mistake you made yesterday. Before you leave your bed, your mood changes. A single memory becomes another, then another. Soon you are replaying conversations, imagining future failures, questioning your abilities, and creating problems that do not even exist yet. Nothing has happened in the outside world, yet your inner world has already declared the day a defeat. This is the hidden power of attention. Your thoughts are like seeds scattered across a field. Every moment of attention is water. The thoughts you water continue to grow. The ones you ignore slowly lose their strength. Most people believe they are victims of negative thinking, but in reality they unknowingly become its caretaker, watering it every day through constant repetition. Fear has a unique ability to demand attention because your mind evolved to notice danger before opportunity. Long ago, this instinct protected human survival. Missing a threat could cost your life, while missing an opportunity rarely carried the same immediate consequence. Although the world has changed, this ancient mechanism remains. Today, it no longer protects you only from predators. It also magnifies criticism, embarrassment, rejection, uncertainty, and imagined disasters. This is why one negative comment can erase the joy of 100 compliments. Your attention naturally clings to what feels threatening. Left unchecked, that instinct begins controlling your entire perception of reality. But here is what most people never question. Just because your mind produces a thought does not mean you are obligated to believe it. A passing thought is simply a mental event. It is not a command. It is not a prophecy. It is not proof. The problem begins the moment you identify with every thought that enters your consciousness. You stop saying, "I am experiencing fear," and begin saying, "I am a fearful person." You stop saying, "I have doubts," and begin saying, "I will never succeed." The line between observation and identity disappears. The strongest people understand something different. They recognize that attention is one of the most valuable forms of power they possess. Every minute spent feeding resentment strengthens resentment. Every hour spent rehearsing failure prepares the mind to expect failure. Every day spent comparing yourself to others weakens your confidence before life has even tested you. Where your attention goes, your inner world follows. This does not mean pretending darkness does not exist. It means refusing to give darkness the authority to define everything else. You can acknowledge fear without serving it. You can recognize doubt without surrendering to it. You can notice negativity without allowing it to become your permanent home. The moment you stop feeding every destructive thought, you begin starving the patterns that once controlled you. And the next step is learning not to fight your thoughts, but to master your response to them. Once you stop feeding every negative thought, another battle begins. Most people believe the next step is to destroy those thoughts completely. They try to force them away, silence them, or pretend they no longer exist. But the harder they fight, the stronger those thoughts seem to become. It feels as though the mind is pushing back, refusing to obey. That is because the mind does not respond well to force. Think about the last time someone told you, "Don't think about it." What happened? Your attention immediately returned to the very thing you were trying to avoid. The same rule applies inside your own mind. Every time you declare war against a thought, you unintentionally convince your brain that it must be important. Instead of disappearing, it becomes louder, more persistent, and more emotionally charged. This is why so many people remain trapped. They are not defeated by their negative thoughts. They are exhausted by fighting them every single day. Real mental strength begins with a different approach. Instead of asking, "How do I stop thinking this?" ask yourself, "How do I stop obeying this thought?" Those are two completely different questions. One attempts to control the mind by force. The other teaches the mind that not every thought deserves a response. Imagine standing beside a busy road. Hundreds of cars pass every minute. You notice them, but you do not chase every vehicle. You simply let them continue on their way. Thoughts work in much the same way. They enter your awareness, remain for a moment, and then leave, unless you decide to climb inside one and let it carry you wherever it wants. Most people climb into the first fearful thought they see. "I'll probably fail." Then comes another. "What if everyone judges me?" Another follows. "Maybe I'm not capable." Within minutes, they are no longer observing their thoughts. They are living inside them. Their emotions change, their posture changes, their decisions change, and eventually their entire day changes. Not because reality demanded it, but because an unexamined thought took control. Your greatest freedom is not the ability to control every thought. It is the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your energy. There will always be moments of fear. There will always be uncertainty before something meaningful. Even the strongest minds experience doubt. The difference is that they refuse to let doubt become the one making decisions. Emotional discipline is not the absence of emotion. It is the refusal to become its servant. When anger appears, observe it before speaking. When fear appears, acknowledge it before retreating. When insecurity appears, recognize it before believing it. This small pause changes everything. It creates space between impulse and action. In that space, you recover something many people unknowingly surrender: the power of choice. Every meaningful transformation begins in that silent moment. You begin responding instead of reacting. You begin thinking instead of assuming. You begin acting according to your values rather than according to your temporary emotions. Over time, this practice changes more than your behavior. It changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone constantly overwhelmed by thoughts and start recognizing yourself as the one who observes them. The mind is no longer your master. It becomes your instrument, Negative thoughts may still knock on the door, but you no longer invite them to stay. That is what genuine inner strength looks like. It is quiet, disciplined, and impossible to shake because it is built on conscious choice rather than emotional impulse. And once you master your response, you are ready to build a mind that grows stronger through challenge instead of seeking comfort. The moment you stop allowing your thoughts to control your actions, life presents you with another choice, one that determines whether your new mindset survives or collapses. You can either continue searching for comfort, or you can begin searching for growth. Most people choose comfort because it feels safe. They avoid difficult conversations, difficult decisions, difficult responsibilities, and difficult truths. For a while, this feels like peace, but what they call peace is often nothing more than avoidance wearing a pleasant disguise. Comfort has a strange effect on the human mind. The more you depend on it, the weaker you become. Every time you run from discomfort, your brain quietly records a dangerous lesson. I escaped because I couldn't handle it. Eventually, that lesson becomes your identity. You begin doubting yourself before life has even challenged you. This is why so many people remain trapped in the same emotional cycles year after year. They are waiting to feel confident before taking action. They are waiting to stop feeling afraid before facing their fears. But confidence has never been created by waiting. It has always been created by action. Look at the strongest people you have ever known. Their lives were not free from pain. They simply stopped treating pain as an enemy. They understood something that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Discomfort is not always a sign that something is wrong. Very often, it is proof that something is changing. A muscle grows only after resistance tears its fibers. A sword becomes stronger only after enduring intense heat. Even nature understands that pressure creates strength. Yet when life places pressure on us, we immediately assume we are being punished instead of being transformed. Negative thinking thrives inside comfort, because comfort never forces you to challenge your beliefs. If you always avoid speaking because you fear rejection, your fear is never tested. If you never pursue your ambitions because failure seems painful, your mind never discovers what you are actually capable of. The prison remains locked, not because the door cannot open, but because you refuse to push it. Growth begins the moment you deliberately choose what is difficult. Speak when your voice trembles. Take the opportunity before you feel completely ready. Walk toward the uncertainty instead of away from it. Every time you do this, you send a new message to your mind. I survived. Then another challenge appears, and once again you survive. Slowly your brain begins replacing fear with evidence. It no longer remembers only your failures. It starts collecting proof of your resilience. This is how real confidence is built, not through motivational words, but through repeated acts of courage. Understand this carefully. Life will never remove every obstacle from your path. There will always be criticism, disappointment, rejection, and moments when nothing goes according to plan. If your happiness depends on life becoming easy, you will always remain vulnerable. But if your strength depends on your ability to adapt, then every obstacle becomes another opportunity to become someone your former self could never imagine. The people who transform their lives are rarely the most talented. They are the ones who stop negotiating with discomfort. While others ask, how can I avoid this struggle? They ask, what is this struggle trying to teach me? That single shift changes everything. The challenge you fear today may become the source of your greatest strength tomorrow. The obstacle standing in your way may be the very thing preparing you for the future you keep asking for. Do not measure your life by how comfortable you feel. Measure it by how much you have grown despite discomfort. Because every challenge you embrace rewires your mind to believe one powerful truth. You are stronger than the fear that once controlled you. And once you begin seeking growth instead of comfort, you must also understand how the world around you quietly shapes the voice inside your own mind. As you become stronger, you begin to notice something unsettling. Not every thought inside your mind was created by you. Many of them were borrowed from the people around you. The voices you hear in moments of doubt often began as someone else's opinion, repeated so many times that it eventually sounded like your own. Your environment quietly shapes your identity every single day. The people you spend time with, the conversations you tolerate, the content you consume, and even the habits you repeat become the architects of your inner world. If you surround yourself with constant negativity, complaints, fear, and excuses, your mind slowly adapts to that atmosphere. Eventually, pessimism no longer feels unusual. It feels normal. Take an honest look at your daily influences. Are they encouraging growth, or are they rewarding weakness? Every hour spent consuming fear conditions your mind to expect failure. Every relationship built on criticism convinces you that you are never enough. Without realizing it, your surroundings begin writing the story you believe about yourself. But the opposite is equally true. When you intentionally choose environments that value discipline, wisdom, courage, and personal growth, your inner voice begins to change. The mind always adapts to what it repeatedly experiences. Feed it strength, and it becomes stronger. Feed it purpose, and it begins searching for meaning instead of problems. Protect your mind as carefully as you protect your future, because the quality of your environment eventually becomes the quality of your thinking. And once your environment begins working for you instead of against you, the final step is to create a new identity through daily mental discipline. Everything you have heard until now leads to one final truth. Rewiring negative thinking is not a single decision. It is the result of thousands of decisions made when no one is watching. People often wait for a dramatic breakthrough, believing that one inspiring moment will permanently change their lives. But transformation has never belonged to those who wait. It belongs to those who practice. Your identity is not created by your biggest achievement. It is created by your daily habits. Every morning you choose discipline over excuses. Every moment you replace fear with action. And every time you refuse to surrender to an old pattern, you are quietly becoming a different person. The change may be invisible today, but repetition has a power that emotion never will. Stop asking yourself whether you feel confident. Ask yourself whether you acted with courage. Stop asking whether your mind is free from negativity. Ask whether you refuse to let negativity make your decisions. The answers to these questions determine who you become. There will still be difficult days. Old thoughts will occasionally return, and moments of doubt will visit without warning. Do not mistake their return for failure. A stronger mind is not one that never hears the voice of fear. It is one that no longer obeys it. The person you become tomorrow is being built by the thoughts you challenge, the habits you repeat, and the choices you make today. Guard them carefully, because they are shaping the life you will eventually call your own. The moment you master your mind is the moment your life begins to follow.